This is hockey, the way it should be. Welcome to the Rockin' Hockey Show.
Come on, come on, come on. Raise your stick. Woo. Yeah. All right, pump your fist. Woo. Yeah. All right.
Quite a game. Down 2-0 in a championship game. The Young Stars put the team on their shoulders and made it 2-1 with their first goal. And it was a beauty.
I want to sweat from my brow. My God, it's happening now. If I could just figure out, I got it. I know it takes some time.
It's the Rockin' Hockey Show! Hi, welcome to the Rockin' Hockey Show, and now your host, the man that's faster than the gym teacher's grandma, Dave Maxwell.
Hey, what's up, hockey and rock and roll fans, and welcome to the Rockin' Hockey. Yes, I shaved the beard, and I am ready to rock.
So we say you like to rock, and say you like to hop. See you take it all the way to the back of the cage.
Hey, all the professionals out there tell me I gotta set the hook in the first 10 to 30 seconds, so here goes. This is the Rockin' Hockey Show, the greatest hockey show on the planet. We got amazing hockey content, and we got kick, rock and roll music to back it up. How was that? Did I set the hook on you? Or what? Anyway, I digress. Oh yeah, after I set the hook, I'm supposed to remind you, subscribe. Hit that button like you mean it. Look, I know it's been a long time since we did a main show, but man, what a great winter we've had, and we've been busy. We did our 2021 Rockin' the Rink Tour, and man, what a blast that was, and I want to thank everybody that participated in that. I can't wait for next season because it's going to be even bigger and better. If you want to be on Rockin' the Rink Tour 2022, make sure you let me know here in the Rockin' Hockey Show. Also, we had our Skate to Be Great series, several episodes of that, all kinds of great skating skills, power skating, gliding, balance, agility. That was also fun. Can't forget about our Canadian-American challenge between my cousin Dan from the Great White North.
Welcome, my brothers and sisters. This is Coach Dan. You're watching the Rockin' Hockey Show, Canada Edition.
And of course, our very own Average Joe. More to come on that. Stay tuned. And like always, we've had great highlight videos from all you Rockin' Hockey fans out there. Continue to send those in. Listen, before we go any farther, let's say hi to the band. Hope you're enjoying Lord Stanley's Brother, because we got a lot more great music coming this summer. Alright, enough. Let's get on to the show. We have a great guest for you today, right here in the RNH Lair, Francois Methot. Francois had an amazing 17-year pro career, which included stops in Rochester and American League, as well as in Germany. He sits down with us right here in the RNH Lair. He tells us about his story about growing up playing youth hockey and then rising up through the Quebec Major League and then on to a pro career. Francois is hockey director for the Rochester Junior Americans Youth Hockey Club. He's also a skills and skating specialist for hockey players of all ages, from 6 years old. Even HL players come to see Francois in the summer to work on their game because he's active. And he's here with us on the Rockin' Hockey Show. He also shares some great insight on skill development and for you hockey parents out there, how to raise your child properly through the hockey ranks. For our skill development session, Francois joins me on the ice, on the backyard rink, for an awesome skill development session. Make sure you don't miss that. More great highlight videos by none other than Colin Bielik from Army Black Knights, who I also want to say congratulations to, who is now nominated as a Hobey Baker candidate. What a great story about Colin. We're on show number 8 right here in the RNH Lair. Colin told us about his development, playing youth hockey, getting cut from his high school team, not really knowing what direction to go, now ended up playing Division I and is a Hobey Baker nominee. Way to go, Colin. We got great highlight videos, we got great hockey content, and we got kick, rock and roll music. Because this is the Rockin' Hockey Show, where the hockey rocks. And the music sucks. Take it away, Lord Stanley's brother. Hey, welcome to the Rockin' Hockey Show. With us today, we have skills and skating specialist Francois Methot. Francois, how are you?
Good, Dave. How are you?
Great. Thanks for coming on the show. It's been a long time. We've been trying to get you here on the show.
Yeah.
Finally made it over to get on the Rockin' Hockey Show. Now, a little bit about your career. 17 years of pro hockey. That's not correct, is it? Is it
Correct.
17 years?
Yeah,
17 years?
17 years, yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Now, I was thinking about that as I was prepping for the show, and people don't really realize that's a long time to play a sport like a rough sport like hockey and football, anything to play that long. It really takes a toll on you mentally and physically.
Yeah, and on top of that is all the commitment before just to get there.
Yeah.
Right. I played junior major in Canada for 4 years before that, and when you combine all those years, there's definitely wear and tear on the body, obviously, because the game was much different back then. And mentally, it's a real grind,
Right.
because the ups and downs are really difficult. It's really difficult to stay even keel because it's a performance-based sport. You're as good as your last game. So during the rough patches, it's a real grind. And the other thing too is that you do that for a living. So obviously, not playing in the NHL, you worry about the next contract.
Right.
So all of that together was a grind, but I don't regret anything.
Awesome. Now you talk about the ups and downs, and especially back in the 80s and 90s, and as when I played too. And I'm a little older than you, but it was a tough period to play and not be a big guy.
Right,
You're obviously much bigger than I am, but
right.
when you look at the pro hockey size, you were still wearing a really big guy at that time, and it's a grind out there to not only to play but to survive.
Well, for sure. And the other thing too that goes with that is the style of play. I was not a physical player. I had all the skills, but at that time it was not like today where skills could take you to the furthest, the highest levels. NHL, back in the day, it was hooking, holding was allowed. It was extremely physical, and my game was more of a skill-based game, and that's probably the reason why I didn't make that jump from the minors to the NHL.
Right. And this may be on a topic for another conversation, but you talked about, again, ups and downs, and I know as a player, even in youth hockey, but in the college and in the pro, confidence is everything, and trying to, and being a smaller player, performance and being offensive, and if you're not performing, your confidence is, you struggle with it. And I know that was a big issue with my career, and probably the reason I only played 2 years. It wasn't because I wasn't good enough. It was just because it just takes such a toll on you of trying to get up for every game and then perform. And if you're not performing, it sets you back a little bit. So it was always one step forward, 2 steps back in my hockey career. And did you have any of those experiences?
Yeah, so you're basically hitting the nail on the head on that. The main thing is if back then, if your role was to put up points, right? It's kind of contradicting the whole team-based approach, right? So when you signed a contract, the first thing they looked at was your numbers, right? Goals and assists. But then on the flip side, the approach on the team side is, don't be a selfish player. Don't think about that stuff. But if it's your role, you have to.
Right.
So when production is not there, you get the call in the coach's office, or in Europe, the GM would be extremely direct with you.
Right.
Say, what's going on? You're not scoring, right? But the team's winning.
Right.
So it's a little bit, reality versus what's ideal. Reality is, look, when you're an offensive player, you got to produce. It's just especially at the pro level, and that really is hard on you mentally. I remember not being able to sleep when I had slumps, right? And I was miserable, not openly, right? Not in front of the teammates. I didn't want to be that guy. But when you get home and you're not producing and your confidence is low, right? It really grinds you up, and then it's tough to function.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Now, do you still love teaching?
Absolutely love it. It's a real grind, but to me the fun part is taking the deep dive into the process. And those are all fancy words to say I love learning. And what I'm doing is I get excited about learning new things and really pushing the research every single day to be able to bring that back to players.
Right.
And it's what's really good about the whole thing is I have a lot of players that have been with me for multiple years now, and they are making me a better coach.
Right.
Because if I come up with the same things over and over and over,
They
then
tell you
you
about
get
it.
still, right? Not this again, right? So now these players, they're pretty high level, and they keep me focused. They keep me engaged in as far as research goes, and the deep dive. Now we're going. You know how quick the game evolves. So I got to push into things I never thought I'd go into, like physics and analytics and kinesiology and all that stuff.
In math.
In math.
I talk about math all the time during my lessons with kids.
Yes. So that's, to me, that's the fun part. That's what, keeps me going.
Right, awesome. And you work with a wide range from NHLers right down to, 7-8-year-old kids as well. So that keeps you on your toes a little bit.
Well, yes. And to be honest, the hardest part is the little kids.
Yeah.
It's really, it's the challenge. As far as content goes, the approach to development with the older levels, the best players, let's say NHL, D1, junior, major, it's tweaks, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about tweaks. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. Little guys, you're starting them up, right? Yeah. So that's the main challenge I find, to be able to do what's the right thing with them, to put them on the right path, not start them the wrong way.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to take a break from the interview to check out these Rockin' Hockey highlight plays by our very own Hunter McDonald.
With the goal here, brought into the Omaha lineup, punishing hit in the Omaha zone from McDonald on James. Working with it on Benton's out to the far side. Schweiger, cross-ice pass in front. They score! Hunter McDonald! What a put away! And the Lancers get on the board here first. And it's the first goal this season for the defenseman, Hunter McDonald. The boys are buzzing on the bench. And what a put away there by McDonald to be pointing on the backside. And the Lancers will take a lead here. 1-0, and Omaha will skate ahead with it now on Hunter McDonald. Has it at the right side wing. Now Hodgson and McDonald might be dropping the gloves here. And they're coming off. McDonald now drops the glove. Hodgson getting his helmet ripped off. A right-handed shot there by McDonald. Catches him. He's got him in a headlock. Throws another right at him. Still going back and forth. And the referees will come over to pull the two apart. McDonald, a goal tonight. A fight. Will he be back to get an assist to get the Gordie Howe hat trick? We'll have to find out.
Attaboy, Hunter. Now back to the show. Yeah. So I'm going to change gears on you. Let's talk a little bit. Now, you grew up in Montreal.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about your youth hockey in Montreal, which had to be fun. It's kind of, similar to playing in Toronto where everything is just hockey, hockey, hockey. Tell us a little bit about growing up and then your path to when you really got good and saw hockey as your future.
So Montreal, basically, hockey is the number one thing. So think about, if we talk about the Canadians, if you can compare it to in the U.S., it would be the New York Yankees, for example, right? It's the biggest thing. It's the only thing that matters sports-wise over there. Everything is secondary. Everything else secondary. So funny thing is, I wasn't supposed to play hockey. It's my mom before kindergarten. Actually, before class, I was going to class in the afternoons, so she was looking for something to do in the morning, and she found some random ad, and got me on skates in hockey. Yeah, and my dad was working, and she told my dad to come and watch, and my dad showed up. I was 5 years old, my dad showed up. I was the only kid that couldn't stand up. So he didn't like that. So he pulled me out, and then he asked me, he said, "Do you like playing hockey?" I said, "Love it," even though I couldn't even stand up. So he took me out of organized hockey. And the interesting part is, for a full year and a half, all we did is playing pond hockey and go to open skates. And my dad had never played the game, but he understood that skating, if you can't skate, you can't do anything, right? So all I did was pond hockey and open skates for a year and a half. And then when I came back, it was not even close to the other kids, right? Because I had all the fundamentals down, and I had tons of hours on the ice, and it was fun, right? So I came back, and that's right off the bat. I played up and was pretty successful. Like most of the pro players nowadays that were in youth hockey, right? There was something there.
Right. At what point did you realize, hey, I'm pretty good? Was it Bantam, midget, or was it at a young age that you were always you excelled at it?
So my path was bottom up. Okay, so I like to say that because right off the bat, I was supposed to be the next great one, right? To still have records in youth hockey and all that in Montreal, but it was too much, too young, too early, right? Going Bantam, Pee Wee, the squirt Pee Wee, Bantam, midget, everything was great, and even ranked first to go in the junior draft, and then had D1 offers and all that stuff. But when it was crunch time to really be committed, I was sick of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I played 12 months a year, and it was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And my dad, great guy, bless him, but he tells me even now, learn from my mistakes I did when you were a kid, right? And we have a great relationship, but it was a lot of pressure. I was doing well. He didn't know the game. He was excited, right? And I loved it up to about 16, 17 years old when it was NHL draft time, and really important. That's when I took a everything had always been easy. That's when I took a step back, right? And I needed a break and a mental break, and that's what happened, really. So early on, it was supposed to be only hockey, but I think I didn't have the real chance to be a kid, if that makes any sense.
It makes all the sense in the world. We've
that's
talked about that a lot here with
right.
some different guests about too much too soon, and learning to enjoy other things in life, and that also that hockey is it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and you gotta smell the flowers as you go along, and you want to still be able to enjoy it when you get to an older age. And another thing is you get to watch your kids play now. That's got to be exciting for you.
Yeah, it's so much fun, especially I spend a lot of hours like you do at the rink, and they're with me at the rink, and if they didn't like it, it would be tough, right? Because I wouldn't force them to be there. But my son is all in. Every time I work with a player, I have to break down video. He'll sit right beside me, and we'll have real hockey conversations, right? And I find that to be a huge amount of learning for him without him knowing that I'm teaching him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of telling him, hey, go in the basement, practice your shot, which I don't really believe in at that age.
Right.
He's beside me, and he sees what I'm looking at into a player, and then we can have a conversation, zone entries and all that stuff, without even making it where I'm saying, hey, let's look at this and learn this.
We interrupt the show for these highlight goals by Colin Bielik.
F-wall, it's Kruger. Drops it from Macklett. Far side F-wall, Macklett. In front of score! Why not? Why not? Why not? Colin Bielik completes the mission in triple overtime! In front of score! A breakaway from the red line. Colin Bielik moves in. Scores!
Great goals, Colin. Back to the show. Now, when you were growing up, there wasn't a structured skill development process or skill instructors or anything like that. So, did you practice a lot on your own, or did it just come natural to you, or was it a combination of both?
So, growing up, I was really close to Real Turcotte. His grandson is Alex Turcotte.
Yep.
Was just drafted in the first round, played World Juniors, and he was a stick handling coach specialist. And he had hockey schools all over the States and Canada. And I started going to his hockey schools when I was probably 8 years old. And I got to a point where I would travel with them, you know, to different different cities in the summer. It was you know, nonstop, and it was all stick handling, right? And some edge work, but very minimal. And that was my skill training, you know. So he would just bring me often just to, you know, to keep pushing my development and all that. And then it went into summer hockey. At home, it was I broke dryers and broke mirrors in the basement, right? I was that kid, you know. I was always fiddling on something, trying something new at a really young age, and that's the part away from the rink. And then everything else was those games in Montreal. They had those games, official pond hockey games. You had to get in the game. Yeah. And it was 8 o'clock on weeknights, and my dad got me in games. It was adults. At 12 years old, I started being in those games.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, I remember playing, when I was playing for Little Caesars, we played in Montreal, and, you know, it was just at St. Leonard, I think it was, a tournament.
St. Leonard, yeah.
And just the place was packed.
Right.
And we're signing autographs.
Yeah.
And if you had an orange jacket, you were like a god-like figure there. We would literally sign autographs before the game, after the game. People would carry our equipment in. I mean, I was only 16, 17 years old at that time, and we'd never seen anything like that. And there was probably 10,000 people at our games, and it was just crazy. Fun stuff. But
well, it's like the Quebec Pee Wee tournament, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been
I've
there.
I've never been there. Never been to that one. But
Yeah.
it's quite an experience. I know we briefly talked on this, but I kind of want to hit home a little bit more on this. If you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently, and why?
So basically, if there's anything, I would have probably focused less on offensive production.
Really?
Yeah. If I would have focused more on the game itself, right? If I would have focused more on the details and the 200-foot game, I really do believe that my career would have been different.
Really?
And I would have had a different enjoyment of the game. Because I truly, if you look at the game as a whole, it's a game you're trying to win, right? And it's very situational. If you're one-sided onto just focusing on the offensive part, and you don't get to enjoy defending and playing the game within the game, meaning if you're up 2-1, you got to play a different way, and you block a shot, and you do a nice defensive play, and that contributes to the win, and enjoying that part, I think it would have been a whole different, you know, career. Now I do enjoy that part. I love talking about that part because it's just as important, right?
I'm laughing because as my men's league career continues on, I get blamed for being nothing but offense. They actually call me Abe instead of Dave because I have no D in my name because it's all about offense. I don't care what the score is. I'm not blocking a shot and I'm not going in the corners. I'll be standing out here looking for a pass.
It's funny because my son, I tell him to stop in the D zone. And he came to watch me play a random game, men's league. He said, "You tell me to stop, but you just turn away from the puck the whole game."
Even my kids get on my case about that, so it's funny. But I get it. But
but that's if I would have done it again, that's, you know, I loved it when I was young. I mean, and again, I don't regret anything. I just think that that's the part where I think in the development, it's great to score the highlight goal, but I think even as a young kid, you know, really teaching the kid to focus on the whole game, right? It improves the enjoyment. Now, if you don't score a goal in a game, you're not miserable, right? And this is what I think it's a big piece that's misunderstood and missed by a lot of people.
Because that was going to be my next question: is how does that translate to youth hockey players and youth parents that are going to watch this interview? and say, oh wow, I never really thought about it like that. You know, they just want to see their kids score goals. And so you're saying enjoy the game as a whole, as opposed to just worrying about production, or if you're a goalie just making saves, worry about more contributing to the team, learning the game for future use, maybe. Did I explain that properly?
For little kids is there's things that are the fundamentals. So if you look at skills development as a whole, right? The learning curve now, more people are doing skills. The game's getting faster, everybody's skilled. So if you look at it, you project that in 5 years, asking if a player is skilled is going to be asking, can you walk? Right. So what's going to be the difference?
Yeah.
It's going to be the kids that do have the intangibles, the kids that do the little details that are learnable, right? You don't need to be super talented to block a shot.
Right.
It's just committed to it. You don't have to be super talented to come back in your end and
Cover
all
somebody.
the way cover somebody and then, protecting your neck, taking a stick, right? These are the things that I think, on top of being skilled, that's the next step to hockey, where, everybody's going to be skilled at some point. There's only so much development we could do. Well, now what's the difference maker? And it's that part. And I think as a parent, right, of course you want the kids to score goals, and that's great, and be creative and all that, but there's way more to it.
Right. Well, I see these kids playing now, and we teach the skills clinics together all the time, and these kids are 8 years old, and they're doing stuff that I never did in my life, and I still can't do as a player. I still can't do half the stuff they do. I can teach it, but I would never even think about using, I don't think I've ever made a toe drag in a game, ever.
Right,
that just wasn't my game. But so you said, are they skilled? Yes, all these kids are amazingly skilled, but what can they do in a game situation, and how can they help their team, and how can they become all-around players, so that 10 years down the road, when they're trying to decide, can I play college hockey, are they good enough to do it at that point? So
Exactly. I think this is where, if you talk and you've been around highly successful players, you get to a point where, you asked about youth hockey, the career. Everybody that makes it was a stud or a really good youth hockey player, right? And how many guys become Sidney Crosby, Kucherov, McDavid, all that? It's a very small amount. All the other guys that you probably don't know their names, are on the third and fourth line, were probably super skilled growing up, but they committed to play a 200-foot game, right? And it's all learnable stuff. It's just being committed to it, to be honest with you.
Funny side story, as you just mentioned, McDavid and Crosby, but as I was trying to print out a picture for you to sign for the wall here today, I found one, and it said if I wanted to buy it, it's $500. I bet you didn't know that your hockey card is still going for $500 after all these years.
$500.
$500 to buy a Francois Methot hockey card.
Wow!
I think I can get
it for sale. I have a whole box.
I think I could get a McDavid card right now at the local dealer for probably about $3. $500 to get a Francois Methot hockey card.
Was it a German one?
German? It was,
yeah. Had a few good years there. It was probably
back to youth hockey and what you do for a living now. When you think of youth hockey as a whole, what jumps out? Good, bad, needs work, too much? Anything? What jumps out at you? Anything in particular? Parents. You can look at the whole youth hockey scope.
So the whole youth hockey scope. This year was a huge learning experience with COVID. Okay, so the kids didn't get to play nearly as many games, if any. And what I found, and I look at on a micro scale with the 2010, whom I coach with Nathan Page, and we've really focused on development. And I found that our kids took a huge jump this year. Just execution, just general execution, passing, skating, chemistry. And what I found is, first, obviously skating is a huge one. That I think that if you watch them might practice, or the really young ones skating with the puck on their sticks, I think you're not working on skating, you're not working on stick handling when you do that. So I think first is really it's really separating the skills and focusing on them separately. And second, per what we've done with COVID, is the amount of games. We realize that you don't need that many games to have the right development.
Right.
And that was a huge awakening for us. And, you know, even if I look at my own son, see his improvement this year, it's the most I've seen him improve. And we've played maybe beginning of the year, maybe 15, 18 games.
Right.
But everything else has been skill-based, team-based, execution, passing. When I talk about execution, I talk about passing with the group. And I think that's where it's, you know, people miss the point a little bit when you focus on 70 games.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you look at, I talked about analytics earlier, when you look at the numbers for youth hockey, you go to Detroit for 4 games. Well, the average of puck possession for a squirt, for example, is about 17 seconds a game, right? So
that's staggering.
So that's
just
crazy. So you play 4 games, you're looking at 68 seconds or something around that of puck possession.
Yeah.
Take that money, put it towards your kids' development, right? And then they can go measure themselves, right, later.
That's a crazy stat. Yep.
Dominate locally, then you go measure yourself, and then you invest in your kids' development. And I think the learning curve, the development goes way up. Because we saw it this year with COVID.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%, 100%. So, listen, we could talk for hours about hockey, and I'd love to have you back on the show again. But we're going to jump on the ice here a little bit and work on a little skills. Thanks for coming on.
Sounds good.
Let's go, boys. That's how you do it. Give me that pie. Where's that pie at?
Kelly, what are you doing?
Well, playoffs are coming up, and I want to do good. So Dad told me to go old school and train.
So you're chopping wood?
Yeah, I got the flannels on. I got the boots on. Ready to go.
Kelly, if only you could grow a beard, you would be old school and ready for the playoffs.
Sorry, what?
Hey, what's up, hockey and rock and roll fans? And thanks for coming in for another skill development session on the Rock and Hockey Show. Today we got a very special guest right here in our backyard rink is skating and skills specialist Francois Methot. Francois, how are you?
Good.
Thanks for coming out. Not too bad. The sun's shining. I can't ask for a better day outside.
Oh, yeah.
So today we're going to talk about something that's kind of a really neat concept. Not it's a new concept, but we're going to talk about how to handle the puck coming into not only the offensive zone, but into a scoring area in such a way that it allows you to be more creative and more of a threat with the puck. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and this is good for every level, from NHL all the way down to the little kids. Is what we see often, and most of the time, is the stick handling piece of it. Is most players, they stick handle with the puck right in front of them, and they will go different ranges, right? But very rarely you're going to see players work on the puck on the hip pocket. Right, so having the puck in a shooting position and be able to make plays off that position. And the thing with this is it's not something you use skating up the ice. This is an attack plan, an attacking plan to be more deceptive, more creative.
Right. Well, I brought that up. First of all, you're seeing a lot of NHL players do this now.
Yeah, so the reason why is now at the NHL level, you're seeing patterns happening over and over. And some of the goals that are scored, if you really pay attention to highlights, right, is when the players attack a defenseman, they will have the puck on the side, so the D has to respect the shot at any point.
Right, okay. We got Francois Methot. We're going to get at this and show you a couple drills.
Okay, so the idea behind the hip pocket is to have more options and be more creative when you're attacking. So this is something you use when you're ready to make an offensive play. Okay, so the whole time you could be skating with the puck in front of you, right? And then attacking in an angle, right, on my off wing. When I'm ready to make a play, you switch the puck to the side, right? And having the defenseman there, now I can shoot at any point. now I can not only shoot directly, I can change my angle, pulling it in and shoot, or I can push and shoot, but there's other plays attached to that, okay, because this is deception based. So from there, I can always make a pass on my back end, okay, and then I can go either way. I could freeze the D by fake shooting, I can take the middle, right, skate, hold the puck, have a little more poise, hold and have a shooting lane, or again, fake shot, go wide around the D, and then attacking the net.
One thing you mentioned there, Francois, is taking the middle of the ice. I think that's a huge thing for players to learn how to create a better scoring opportunity, and nobody's going to give you the middle of the ice. You kind of have to take it. You want to talk about that real quick?
So the way to take the middle of the ice, right? So there's two ways to attack the defenseman, right? There's always the triangle, right? You can always go through the triangle, or, right, freeze the D, okay? You're coming in, okay, and by keeping your speed up and freezing the D, it's a fake shot, and then push off, okay, almost perpendicular to your original route. So by coming in on the D, right, and I'm skating, and I have the puck in front of me, I want to make a play, you fake, you bring it out, now you're creating space, right? The D cannot poke check the puck, you're protecting the puck, and you're also creating that shooting lane around the defenseman. But the key to this is really to have that puck on the side, have all these options, but really freezing the D. Coming in, freeze, and going around the defenseman.
Do you think that when this started becoming more popular, do you think it was an Ovechkin thing because he comes in on that side and shoots all the time and he's been doing it for 15 years now? Do you think it kind of stemmed from that, or do you think there were other players that were kind of more responsible for that?
So this goes way back to Wayne Gretzky. That piece of the game, having the puck on the hip pocket, goes way back. I learned that from my mentor, Real Turcotte, where he taught us and he showed us how Wayne Gretzky would enter the zone, having the puck on the side and be able to transfer the weight from one leg to the other instead of just having the puck in front and then turning both feet where you're kind of stuck and bound to the direction of your feet. So this is how it all started, and then once you start noticing it, some players do it just by instinct, but I think this is something that can be learned, and this is something that should definitely be worked on, especially when you're coming off on your off wing. Hey, I'm Francois Methot, and you're watching the RNH Hockey Show.